Tom and Jerry is one of the most iconic animated shows in the world, and for a good reason. They are funny, the animation is top-notch, the sound effects fit so perfectly I could go on and on. And their fame doesn't stop at animated shorts. They appeared in live-action movies, feature-length animated movies, and even video games. But one of these mediums is pretty unknown, forgotten, and left behind. I'm talking about the Tom and Jerry comics. A brief history for Tom and Jerry. Tom and Jerry was created by William Hanna and Joseph Barbera at MGM Studios in February 10th, 1940 as a theatrical short that would play before movies at the theaters. The basic formula would be Jerry is messing with Tom, Tom gets angry, Tom chases him, and a series of quite violent shenanigans occur in between. After its success, it would get a full series titled Tom and Jerry. Now, enough boring history, let us jump in and talk about the Tom and Jerry comics. Jerry comics were published by Dell Comics. Between issue number 212 and 222, the rights were given to Gold Key Comics, and in between issue number 316 and 337, the rights were given to Whitman Comics. These companies aren't known nowadays, but they are famous in the collector's scene. Dell and Gold Key are known for their licensed comics, from Disney to Hanna-Barbera characters. Whitman is known for publishing exclusive DC Comics variants. The comic used to be called Our Gang with Tom and Jerry until it was changed to Tom and Jerry Comics at issue number 60, which is where I started and what I will be talking about. The format of the comic was simple. You have the main Tom and Jerry comic, a short segment for Jerry and Tuffy, and another for Tom alone. These segments were not so good. They were just here to fill space since it was an anthology format that featured other characters, but nobody cares about them. The comic is quite similar to the show, obviously, except for the fact that Tom and Jerry actually talk. The character designs are still the same, but they change throughout the story's run. Now, let's get into some positives of the comic. Number 1. The art is actually really good. It has great facial expressions and great dynamic posing. And that's all the positives. Now, let's get into some negatives. Number 1. The coloring is not good. Now, I'm not going to fret over this for too long, since a lot of comics from this era had some pretty not so good coloring. Reason for that is because of the printing. The printing wasn't as good as it is nowadays. For example, the Hulk used to be gray in his first appearance, but they changed it to green because gray was inconsistent when being printed. It used to change to different shades of gray a lot. Green was a more consistent color. This wouldn't be a problem if the comic was converted professionally to digital mediums. There is a big difference between the two. Number 2. Tom and Jerry talk. This is a genuine crime, since Tom and Jerry should never talk. I know it is a comic. There have to be some words, but it doesn't have to be these two talking. It can be other characters like Mammy Two Shoes, Spike, or Tuffy. For example, in issue number 60, Tom is not able to sleep, so he reads a book and realizes that the reason he can't sleep is because of his conscience. A guilty conscience will keep a person awake. So he metaphorically asks his conscience, and it tells him he was being mean to Jerry and Tuffy. Notice, if Tom talked, all he says is ooh or right. He doesn't need to say anything. His conscience will give exposition. They can show his sorry with his facial expressions or his posing. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's easy. Oh, it's not. But what differentiates these two from, say, the Looney Tunes is that they can convey emotion without talking. That is what made them special. Number 3. It is a comic book. The final problem with this comic is the very fact that it is a comic. Let me explain. Sometimes when you make something, you abuse the medium it is in. You use all what makes that medium great. Tom and Jerry has one of the greatest sound effects in history. The timing for when the characters are sliced, smashed, flattened, ripped apart, and much more is near perfect. The animation is so smooth, so fast, so pleasing to the eye. And that is the problem. When you make something that is so good in that medium, it wouldn't work, or it wouldn't be as good as it is in other mediums. Take, for example, Watchmen. The comic is so good, not just because of the writing, but because of how it looked. It was made with a 3x3 grid format, and in the middle there was always the focal point of the action, the bang moment. 4 panels before, leading up to the bang, and 4 panels after to show what happened after. The coloring was beautiful. It used oranges and purples for the most part, and it only used primary colors when there was an extremely violent moment. The movie Watchmen isn't as good as the comic. It did try to use slow motion to show the bang, but it wasn't as good or as emotional. What I'm trying to say is, if you replace the comic book counterparts of Tom and Jerry with anything else, we wouldn't see a difference. The comic does not represent the Tom and Jerry we all know and love. Having said all of that, despite all the negatives, I actually enjoyed it. And I would love to see a new comic book adaptation that would obviously be worse than the show, but still an enjoyable experience. Hey, if you like this video, subscribe for more comic book related content. I will see you peeps and gals in the next one. Bye bye.